everybody, this is Leslie Ohnstad from ColourArte. I'm back with part 2. We just finished doing the swipes on these small little, they're not 5x7s, like 8x10s, where we use the vivid metallic copper with the white over the top, the black over the dragon gold, the white over the true silver. They're almost dry. And we had done a texture swipe, scrub swipe. Really basically you're just taking a little bit of color from the top of the canvas and pulling it all the way down till it's virtually dry. These canvases were base coated with a white wash just to make sure wherever we skipped on the canvas there wasn't exposed raw canvas. It had been painted behind. I have gone ahead and done a third one that's almost dry. It's a little too uniform for my taste. This is the white over the dragon gold, but I'm going to see what I can do with this. And first I kind of want to pick the colors out I'm going to use for my string art. Out of the vivid Ultimetallics, and of course the paper. This is still wet as I pull this off, so you're seeing this in real fine. Okay, so this color, kind of a seashell pink. I took the vivid violet and a dash of the vivid playful peony just to get this very transparent pinky coral color, because I'm going to go for a lighter color that when I pull a black string over a light color with silicone, we're going to see the cells. Okay, so this first color is a custom mix between the violet pearl and a little bit of playful peony. This color here is the only one that isn't a vivid. It's the primary element Pretty Peridot mixed with the vivid clear enamel. We actually mix it to make our own paint. Most paint pouring people have heard of this. If you haven't, you're brand new. You can buy the vivids pre-mixed in bottles, or you can get our pigments and mix your own paint. Take that extra step to mix your own paint with the clear enamel. We're trying to feature the colors that are already pre-mixed, but I just really needed this Pretty Peridot green, and I knew that we didn't have this color in the vivid yet, so that was my preference. This is Passion. See if you can get a close-up on that. This is that color Passion I was just showing you in the bottle. And here's kind of a close-up so you can see the shimmer. These are still drying a little bit, but this is the violet pearl with a little bit of playful peony. This is the Pretty Peridot that I mixed up, and you can see how shimmery. It's really beautiful. This is the Passion, which it's dry. So this is what the paint looks like when it's dry. This is the Teal Zircon, which might be transparent enough. I'm going to put a little bit of blue pearl in with it just as I'm brushing it on. And not sure if you can see this on camera, but this is the straight violet pearl with nothing in it, just so you can see what it looks like. And I'm actually going to brush on some of the blue pearl. Get the water out of my brush so you can see the blue pearl in real time. It's going to look clear, but if I took a tiny bit of this Teal Zircon color and mixed it in this blue pearl, be absolutely stunning. And you can tell, even with it wet, how shimmery this blue pearl is. So I'm still kind of deciding what I'm going to do. I think I could use the Passion as a little accent color if my foliage has the green and the turquoise in it with bits of the light blue to lighten this up. And if the more floral side of the foliage, you know, maybe the top of one of them had a hint of color, this would be the dominant color I would probably use and just put a brush stroke of this in. So I'll be back. I'm gonna mix up a couple more paints with some silicone in them because this is basically a string swipe, detailed, controlled string swipe. Be right back. So I'm back. I've got some of my colors mixed up. So I've decided that I'm just going to use these two bright colors as an accent and try to go very, very transparent. Because the first and only time I did this, I actually pulled the black over just an interference violet. It was for a black and white entry for a juried show here in town. So it gave me an excuse just to kind of do black, white, and silver, if you know what I mean. And I drew basically loose shapes of leaves with a squirt bottle. This is actually our violet pearl already mixed up in a bottle with silicone and water in it. But I'm thinking that for trying to do this type of technique and show you guys, I almost feel like I need to try to brush paint this, and I've never done this with a paintbrush, but I think we can get heavy enough color down if we do it just right. And this is a much smaller canvas than what I'm used to working with, so bear with me. I think what I'm going to do is just kind of draw. It's going to be hard to see here at first. See as close up as I can get on this thing. Okay, we're going to see if this works, trying to brush paint this. So you can probably barely see my line down because it's white on white, but I'm going to take some more of this violet. I think this is violet in here. I'm going to take this and brush this with the paintbrush, and it gives you a little easier way to kind of shape a leaf. I don't know how much you guys can see me do this, but I'm kind of taking my paintbrush and shaping the leaf. Let's see how much of a close-up you can get on this. Might be hard to see. Kind of see where it's starting to take a shape of a leaf over here and take a shape of a leaf over here. Same thing with the top, even though you might imagine this might be the top of a calla lily. These are abstract flowers that we're doing. Okay, just to make it more interesting, so there's color on this. This is what I was talking about. I'm going to take a little bit of, I have that pretty peridot, the seashell pink, the teal and the pink mixed up, that passion color. I'm going to take a little bit of this green. I kind of just pull that through. So there's a tint of color in my leaf. Oops, that's okay. We don't mind if this dries a little dimensionally. Matter of fact, that's the one thing about the Vivid is kind of cool, is this part right here will dry with a little bit of a dimension. Sorry, but I'm going to take my palette knife and make sure I'm shaping this just right. Those of you comfortable with a paintbrush can do it with a paintbrush. Those of you comfortable with a palette knife can do it with a palette knife. I actually have a smaller paintbrush here, so I'm going to kind of push this in. I'm one of those OCD nuts that likes things neat. You think this is neat? And then just for the fun of it, I'm going to add a little blush of the seashell pink in here, as if the bottom of the leaf had already been hit with a little bit of sunlight. Get some more green on my stalk. Okay, so let's go with a little bit of maybe the green on one side, just so it looks like part of the leaves are coming up. Some of this seashell pink. And then I got one little dollop. I'm going to try to be brave here. Just a drop of the pink, that hotter pink coming through, just to see what happens. This is an experiment now. I've always done this with a squeeze bottle. And just kind of randomly did the squeeze bottle, did the string, didn't try to paint it, but there's no reason why I can't do some kind of control painting where I'm leaving the paint on generous and then swiping my string over the top. Okay, that looks a little too pink to me. I'm kind of not liking how pink that is. I think it doesn't quite fit with what we're doing. Believe it or not, I'm going to wipe some of that off. Could also be that gold underneath. I went over the top of that gold. I'm not sure how much I like it. This leaf feels a little fat to me, so I'm going to push this up in here because I'm going to be doing a black string over the top of it. Okay, I'd actually like to do all of them, or at least a few of them, before I lay the strings down. So I think I'm going to go ahead and do one more. Let's see if I can't get this to kind of look like it's coming behind. And now one that kind of comes up in here. It's kind of drawing out the rest of it. Seeing what we can get away with. Remember, this is abstract, even though we're trying to control it. Yeah, I like this seashell pink. I think that other pink's a little bit too hot for what we're doing here. As soon as I added the teal, it looked like that seashell pink didn't really belong. I don't quite like what happened here. I think I'm going to pick this up because I can. So one thing about this is I can go in and control exactly where I want it, because once I lay the string down that you've committed yourself. Up to this point, you're still pretty much randomly doing this, and it'll wipe off so easy off the canvas. Okay, don't ignore. I'm kind of just getting lost talking to you guys and not paying attention to the shape of what I'm doing. I'm having too much fun just doing this in front of everybody. Yeah, I gotta pay attention to business. Those are too much the same height. I kind of don't like how that turned out. But oh well, I think I can go in with my black and add more detail to it if I come up just a little bit higher on this one. I'll let the black, because I'm going to go over the top with some black paint. Actually, I'll show you how I touch these up. Appreciate you guys hanging with me during this experiment. One never knows what we're going to get when this is a true experiment. Like I said, I've done it with a bottle. To move the paper over, my arm's starting to stick on that. I've been swiping my brush here to kind of control the paint on it, and I just stuck my arm in it, so. Okay. If you feel like you need more clear, you can always add a little bit more clear. If not enough came out of the bottle, I've got some extra here already mixed up. Again, not done this with color. We've only tried this with the black and white, but figured why not? And if it's really terrible, you guys will never see the video anyway, right? So. Really doesn't matter. Okay, the string portion. Now, I have several pieces of embroidery thread cut up in different lengths, which I'm trying to look for right now. If you're going to use two different lengths, you might want to use two different colors. In this case, I know my orange ones are longer than my blue ones, but since this is such a small piece, I'm going to cut these orange ones in half, and I've got enough to go on. Okay, so get all my little oopsies off of here. So I've got some black paint. It's my normal black Artist Loft white color, thinned down with pouring medium, Liquitex pouring medium, a little bit of water. I keep this container all the time for my string stuff. It's in a little sauce container with a tub, so it'll stay nice and moist. And taking my spatula, just realized this is probably upside down for you guys, but I really do have to see. Okay, here's the tricky part. Okay, you want to lay that black string exactly on the outline of what you just painted, or really close to it. When you're working with clear, it's a lot easier, because even if it doesn't go exactly where you planned, no one's going to know. Now this part of the string has no color to it. I did that intentionally. I kind of want to just leave the black on the head. Believe me, as I pull this down, that black will pull down there. Okay, I've got another piece I'm dipping. You can run your finger down it if you want to either unravel a knot. Of course I have to get a knot on camera while you guys are watching. What else is new? Out of all those times, no knots, but really easy. I've got my handy dandy scissors here. I'm not going to let a knot stop me. I always have a pair of scissors handy. Fortunately, my string's long enough to where we're not even going to hit a bump in the road. And coming up, wrapping right around here. Again, this is the tricky part. Wrapping around exactly where my leaf went. And laying it down gently. Okay. Next one. If they're too long, they can get tangled. I learned by not using great big long ones that I was just fine with 3 shorter, littler ones to do one of the florals and not try to pull it through with one big long string Again, I'm gonna come around here, come around to the top. Again, tricky part. I guess it's only as tricky as I want to make it. Oops. And yes, I saw that little bit of black. If you guys saw it, we got a little bit of a black that popped off. So I think I'm actually going to pull this one first all the way through, and I'm going to do the top one. Remember that string that had no color on this tip? Now if you lift it up, you can control how it goes left, how it goes right. And I'm going to let this come all the way down and pull through from there. So I'm wondering if I've got my paint wet enough, because usually I get a whole lot more off of this. Now this one I'm lifting up because I don't necessarily want to end up with strings coming this way. So you kind of twirl the string around your fingers. And pull that way. Same thing, lifting this up, letting this come through, and then swiping it to the bottom. Put my gloves off so I can get this camera moved forward so you can see this. So, give you the idea. This is the texture that I was getting when I was just using the clear, and I love these little patterns. Being very careful trying to hit the color, I felt like I didn't let it just go enough. Up here, this is the first one, same thing, it kind of missed it, okay? It also looks like my color was dry a little bit in here, but again, all this stuff can be touched up with a paintbrush. This painting's not done yet. And then we get the technique down just right. I'm loving these fabulous cells that are coming through on the black. So there's almost 3 different types of looks just on that one foliage, okay? I'm gonna go ahead and finish the rest of these. I'll decide how long it takes, if I need to speed them up or not for you. That I don't want to bore anybody, but I wanted to show you guys this technique because it's a ton of fun. And the one benefit of doing it with clear is after it's all dry, I can go in with my Silks Acrylic Glaze and paint over the clear flowers and tint them. So you don't necessarily have to put color in the flowers and worry about missing them. I just wanted to push my envelope a little bit further because I had already done the clear flowers. So now I got a fresh set of gloves on. Sorry I couldn't get close up on that camera with black paint all over my hands. This is a messy process, but tons of fun, especially for kids. I mean, think about that. Just teaching them how to do these, the string foliage, string flowers, whatever you want to call them. Okay. And again, it's messy because when I'm cleaning off the tip, I'm always getting black paint on that right hand. So I think what we're going to do first is wrap around this bottom foliage. I'm wondering if I made a mistake by doing them too soon because it looks like the paint's kind of already drying. I may have to wet it a bit. And I don't quite like how far in this went, so I'm going to intentionally pull this out to my shape. Not going to hurt because it should make cells if I'm pulling it out. The only thing is I'm a little bit worried if it's gotten dry there. So just to be safe, I'm going to add some more of this clear violet pearl that we know already has the silicone in it. I'm going to do the same thing up here. Let's just refresh this. Make sure it's plenty moist. And we'll do the string for that top foliage. You don't want to miss getting any part of that string. I leave a tail on it that's got no paint so I can handle it. Just a little tip. It will hold a ton of paint. I'm wiping paint off. If you actually needed more, it can be had. So I'm wrapping it around to the left. Coming up to the top, wrapping it all the way around. And letting it come down. Another thing you can do is kind of tap the thread down there and make sure that black is starting to activate. The longer you leave, I'm not worried about that black on my thing because it's going to pull through, but the longer you leave that thread on there, the more it has a chance to soak through. Now I'm pulling this up because I don't want to mess with this flower to the left, okay? So I'm going to try to control where this comes down. Same thing with this one. I've got the string down, but now I'm going to wrap it back up because I don't necessarily need a whole bunch of crisscross things. I'm going to wrap it all the way up, and then I'm leaving the string down from here and I'm kind of pulling it, oops, get it in there, pulling it to the left. Much better with those top two being moist. Let me get the black off of my finger so I can get this camera up close and you guys can see. Oh yeah, these are way prettier cells. I'll turn that around just for a minute so you can see this. I don't want to handle it too much. See how much better it turned out where it was just a little extra juicy in there, a little extra paint, because this is going to dry. And I could, once this dries dimensionally, I can go on a paintbrush and actually color up that enamel that's going to dry clear, touch up all those colors around there and go in with my silks. I kind of don't mind that this mist and it looks a little bit different. I will go in and detail paint that one just a little bit, just so they kind of match, because this is kind of light compared to the rest of them. So I can go in and add some cell lines in there and make it look like it's still the same painting. Okay, so we've got one more on the other side. Okay, again, very moist. I'm not liking this when it gets too dry. So I'm going to add some moisture I think it needs a tad more color. Ooh, that's a lot of moisture. I think I squirted way too much of that clear in there. Where's that paintbrush I was using? Yeah, I'll pick up some of this and put it up on the top. That's way too much. The idea is just to keep this moist, not to have it gloppy. Pull this down into the stem. And I really don't want it running into this one. I want this floral separate. So you see how I just did that? I'm pulling that enamel away from there. You see this area. Yeah, you might as well catch it before it happens. So rather than have the shape of this one be compromised, okay, we can always control the shape of this one that we're working on. I'll make it turn down a little bit more so it's got a curve down. Got a little bit of green, so it looks like it was meant to go like that. Okay, and I think I want some more of this pink up here. I'm really liking what's happening to this, how that pink and that black on the top are working. So I'm going to try to duplicate the same thing over here. Kind of give a little curve to this thing. Tiny bit more of this really juicy violet pearl with the silicone in it. Play with my shape just a little bit so it's the shape that I really want. And a tiny bit of green just at the base of this. Move that juicy stuff around so it's nice and even all the way through here. Love my palette knife. So the brush can give you the leaf shape, and then you can go with the palette knife and touch it up and make sure the paint is well spread around. Okay, I've got, I'm going to be short one string. I'm going to have to cut a string. Yay! But let's get this big petal down. Okay, one more time. This is, like I said, the tricky part, making sure we're sticking with the shape that we've got in there. Not that it's not forgiving, not that you can't fix it, but you want to try your very best to commit to the shape you've put in there. You're going to have the more success. And the tail of this, I'm going to let some of this come down and feed some black in there, but the actual tail of this orange tail, as you can tell, oops, does not have any paint on it, okay? So we need one more piece of thread. I'll cut one really quick. Dip it in. And I'm deciding whether I want to go over or under. I think I'm going to go this way, but I'm going to have to kind of turn the canvas sideways to get it to pull right. Don't go too close to the other flower. We purposely didn't do that. Okay. And let this string set for a bit. Again, you can push it if you want to. That's risky though. I mean, you really just want to give it time. I'm only reason why I'm pushing on that at all is because we're doing a video. When I was doing these big pieces, I just let the black string paint soak in to my florals. Okay, so I'm going to do the top one first, okay? And I'm rolling my string up, all the way up to like the base of the floral, okay? And then pulling that straight through. And then with this one, I'm wrapping it up. I'm going to kind of go to the left. Yeah, this one came out pretty. Even though it's a little, the branches are kind of going left and right. Especially here, I know I showed you guys how to touch stuff up with a bamboo skewer. We completely missed this stalk here. Some of this enamel starting to set up. So my instinct is, while this is still somewhat moist, is to fix this. I'm going to put a little tiny bit of that violet, and just a couple drops of the green just so it's in there. I have one of the black strings, the side that I've already used. Normally I don't double dip because if you're working over white, your string can turn gray. That's one of the benefits of working with clear color and not white, because opaque white can mask everything quickly. So it's a little weird, but I'm going to kind of try to just lay this stem down in here. And pull it through. There we go. So they look like they're connected. And I think I can get away with one more. It's risky, because I kind of liking where my piece is going anyway right now. But right here, where it doesn't look like it's connected, I'm literally taking this string and painting in my lines to fix it. Okay, over here it looks like we went out of the flower. So what do? I think I can fix this too. It's gonna be crazy, but since this is so light, I'm gonna actually try to double string this thing. It's a lot of enamel, but I put some fresh enamel down. Violet, I think it's a little too much. Sorry, I'm getting heavy-handed here. The good news is it does dry clear. But since everything else is so dark with the patterns in it, this kind of looked like it doesn't really belong, and it missed half of it anyway. So I'm going to see if I can't fix this and get creative. Dip my string in. You saw it first, kids. Me trying to fix a mistake. Yay! This is pretty much how it goes. I mean, this is how art is, right? So I like to do a wrap around to the left, because that's the way it pulls nicely for me. We're going to get the black all the way there and all the way down. So it looks like it belongs. Let it have a chance to get in there, and I don't want to touch it because I don't want to make black dots. But I can make sure that the shape that I'm looking for, and there we go. Second one around, lift it up, and we just fixed that first leaf. Now there's a lot of enamel in, I'm gonna ball this black paint off, give me a second. Now I'm gonna point out while it's wet where you can go in and clean it up, okay? Anything that you think that's gonna affect the detail of your piece, if it's better served doing it while the paint is wet, then take the time to do it. Because going back after it's dry is not necessarily that easy, okay? I'm putting tops on my paint right now while I'm talking, just so I can put my paint away safely. I keep them in these little salsa cups and then I put the tops on and I can use, I've had this paint for months. I mixed this color up for months, love it. I don't use it that often, but it's a beautiful seashell paint. That's that violet pearl and playful peony mixed together. Okay, so let's take a look at this. I want to get my palette knife clean. And get a bamboo skewer I can do. Also, this is the OCD person in me. I kind of want to pick this. Let's see, flip this over. Now, the pink and the green and the gold is still a little bit bright. I mean, it really is bright. Let me turn this around so you guys can see this. So, as I work this piece out, I'll probably antique this gold a little bit. I'll put colors up in the white with the Silks acrylic glaze that I think will go with the piece. I kind of have to wait to see how this thing dries. But in the meantime, in the stems, I've got some excess enamel here and excess enamel here that could or could not blur stuff up. There's a lot of enamel around the edges of the flowers. This is the stuff I was talking about in the stock, right? And then there's this edge around here. Now, is this, do I want to turn all that clear area black? Or while it's still wet, do I want to kind of go in, sorry, I'm getting my paintbrush clean and then wiped dry with a paper towel. Push this in just a little bit so it maintains the shape. I love the pattern here, so I don't necessarily want to lose the pattern. But then that brings this foliage to a nicer point. And because the enamel dries with a tiny bit of dimension, even when you thin it down, it's because it's a thicker paint. It's an enamel, it's not a regular old acrylic. It'll dry with a little dimension, and so you can pull that off. So now I've pulled off the excess right around these tips here to try to maintain the integrity of my shape. I'll still touch it up with a paintbrush when it's done. For example, this pink is coming on the outside. That's the risk of doing it on the outside. Well, normally when it's dry, that's when I'll take a tiny detail brush and paint this in, because I can actually recreate little cells in here with a paintbrush. So I'm not just going to swipe this over like you think you might want to. I wait and touch that up after that's dry, completely dry. But pushing in the excess enamel, you can do while it's wet. See if there's any other areas that look a little heavy. I'm going to flip this around, guys, so I can see it. Okay, now here, on the top here, it's a little heavy. The stems are a little bit of a concern because we don't need this extra heavy stem that's not even in where the black is. So I'm removing the enamel here carefully while maintaining the shape of this black leaf. Same thing down here. Let's see how close up I can get her on this. Same thing down here. the green is kind of going on the outside of the stem, but it looks like it would be great as a tint, but you don't need it all the way out here. So I can push that enamel in because it's kind of viscous and I'm not hurting anything. I don't have a lot of separation for this leaf. You guys are getting that on camera. So I just created one. Because I can push that enamel around. If I have to touch up something with a little bit of white, you know, a little bit of white paint here, if I wanted this perfect, I could. Because, you know, this piece isn't done until I say it's done. Same thing over here now. I kind of like how this went out, but it's still continuing the actual original shape of the leaf. And this puddle here, this violet over the black will create some really pretty shimmer, so I'm going to leave this alone. This is a fun effect, and I wish you could see it dry, but it is really, really shimmery with that violet kind of laying back on top of the black. Okay, let's inspect our flower over here. Again, like I said, I'm going to fix this after it's dry. I think I want more space between these leaves because this green is kind of pushing out of the shape. So while that enamel's still wet, see that? I just pushed that out of there. And I've gone back to my beautiful shape. If I can get this enamel out of here, I will. If not, because I kind of like that shape there. Chances are when this is dry, I'm going to probably touch that up with white paint. This is a painting, so you're not stuck. See, I just got a little black there. You're not stuck. You can go in and touch up with white. You can go in and touch up with black. Same thing here. This is a little bit out of the shape of what we're doing. This isn't too bad. First time trying to do this with a paintbrush instead of just the bottle. We're going to need probably a little more of the pink in here. This looks a little like this got a little bit light. That was that first one, and I didn't add the extra bit of enamel, so I'm just going to try to brush some of that light pink in there. Well, this is still wet, but really truly, if I was doing this at home for a piece for the gallery, you do the rest of this touch-up work after it's completely dry. We will be doing something special with that background texture eventually. But for now, this is step 2 of 3. We are going to have to let this dry, so I won't be able to get back to this till tomorrow, or at least for several hours, because the puddles of enamel I'm letting dry dimensionally, they're really gorgeous, and I don't want to lose any of them. So here's your close-up of what we did today. Ooh, it looks like we got some black bleeding in here. What do I do about that? I was about to sign off, but I'm going to look at this because the camera showed it to me. I think that's going to dry clear. That'll dry pretty clear. It's just milky right now because it's real wet, and the enamel kind of has a milky look till it dries clear. So there's the rest of your patterns. And then this one on top, this is the first one that we kind of skipped, but the string skipped. But we'll touch this up with a detail brush. Not bad, I think, at first attempt, trying to do a textured string swipe. Well, this is Leslie Ohnstad with ColourArte, signing off. Hope you enjoy. Bye-bye.